Hi, no, this is not the Camino. I thought I'd just keep a few blog posts and videos going post-Camino, just to, I guess, see how things were going and how things might have changed. So if you've been following the blog, hopefully you'll find this of interest. So I finished the Camino 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and what I'm doing now is Pat and I have our sort of second home in Bangkok, and she was here while I was walking my Camino, so I'm spending 10 days or so here before heading back to Sydney. So it's been a nice chance to chill out, so hence the Bangkok scene rather than the Camino one. And I thought I'd just talk for a moment about the transition from the Camino sort of back into the real world, if you like. Because a lot of people find that quite difficult, and I think I talked about that a little bit when I was in Santiago, and the feeling sometimes that people feel a bit let down, or something's missing. So this is purely from my perspective, but I guess what I've found over the last week to 10 days is that you do need a transition time. I can't imagine just finishing the Camino and then walking straight back into work. That would be really difficult, because if you think about it, you've been walking for 5 or 6 weeks in a very, very different environment. You've had a very different routine. If you're like me, you walked alone, so there was a degree of isolation with a lot of time to sort of ponder and reflect and contemplate. And I think you do need a transition before you get back to work. So this has been ideal for me, really just to kind of chill a little bit, get used to being with lots of people again, and lots of noise and distraction. So I thought I'd just talk for a moment about the sort of 3 elements that I've mentioned a few times during the blog, and that is the physical, the emotional and the spiritual. I suppose from the physical sense, what surprised me was that I kind of just stopped. You would think when you've been walking every day for 5 to 10 hours in my case, that would kind of build up a routine and you'd want to maintain that. What I actually found was that it was almost the reverse, and I think it's because when you're walking, you're very highly motivated, the adrenaline's going, you're really sort of pumped up every day, and when you lose that sense of purpose, the reason to actually go through that very physical sort of thing every day, I found I actually just stopped, and I didn't really want to do anything physical. So that was interesting, and I think it's really just the body saying, okay, you've been doing a lot for the last 6 weeks, just calm down, chill and relax a little bit. So I've slept an awful lot, and I've started noticing all sorts of aches and pains coming up since the Camino. But it's probably just the body wanting to relax and rejuvenate a bit. Yeah, that's probably mainly the physical thing. Now I'm feeling I want to be more active, so I've had a good chance to have a rest. On the emotional side, yeah, my wife Pat remarked, "You've come back a bit like a monk." What she meant by that was that I'm still sort of being quite contemplative and reflective, and perhaps not as gregarious as I was before I went on the Camino. And I think that's part of the emotional transition as well. Again, in my case, I was alone a lot, not interacting with people a terrible amount, and I'm kind of now transitioning to having lots of people around me and interacting more. And I'm sort of still processing a little bit, I guess, what I was thinking about on the Camino. There's a lot going on around me, there's a lot of distractions, and that takes a little bit of getting used to. So again, I think that's a really important part of the transition. Whether you're doing your transition at home or maybe you're staying on in Spain somewhere, I think it's probably quite important. And then lastly, probably the spiritual element. Again, if you followed the blog, you'll know that was quite an important part of my Camino and quite a key feature of it. That's probably less intense now, and I think it's, again, just that sort of transition period and thinking about it a little bit more, but certainly still there. And I think the important thing that I'm thinking through at the moment is that I'm recalling those really fantastic moments on the Camino, whether that was physical, emotional or spiritual, and sort of replaying those and thinking, I don't want to lose that, and how do I take that forward now into the rest of the journey. And again, I've mentioned this before, I tend to think the Camino is really just a training ground to enhance your life for the future. And so over the next few weeks I'll be making sure that I don't lose those lessons and start putting some things into place and some plans in place. So apologies that it's sort of taken 10 days to put anything else up on the blog, but I think I just needed that time to come down a little bit and reflect and think about it. But I'll put some more up soon.